Okay. Hi guys. Do you have any poetry fans? You could just put in the chat if you like poetry, like a lot of like poems and poets and that kind of thing. Um, no, we don't have any. You do? Okay. Does. Okay. Anybody else? Yes. Yes. Awesome. We have a few people, like two people. I'm hoping that it's not just two. I'm hoping there's more. But yeah, um, does anybody, among those like who like poetry, does anybody want to, okay, Maria as well. Like, help me read like a few sort of lines. So there's like a bit of, poem that I have here. So I want to read the first part and then someone can just speak up the second part. Is anybody interested in doing that? Um, if not, I would just go through it myself. But I think it would be more fun if we could do that. Anybody who wants to do it? Like among my okay, Nihil. Okay, great. So I have Nihil. I'm gonna so Nihil. Okay, so Nihil. And maybe if it becomes a bit too long, then we'd probably ask someone else. But let me just get started then. Um, okay. Um, Poet, uber poet, they whisper, quietly, softly, eerily. Sometimes, sometimes not. Someday perhaps. If you come, if you work, if you try, you too could write like them. If you get up early enough, they whisper, if you can read the entrails of chickens with deft and sly finger tips, they whisper, if you can read omens and portents, if you can divine fate and calamity with clarity, with mastery, they whisper, if you can write with passion, with lucidity, with lyrical fierceness, they whisper, if you write as if all the tales of old are passing through your fingers, making their mark upon your flesh, upon your soul, they whisper, we shall call you Uber Poet. Okay, so your part? You can just kind of stop in the middle, or you can just kind of read the whole thing.
That's all very well, you say, but what is it? What is it that I must do? What is it exactly? Ah, that is not to be real. That's the mystery. But don't you worry, don't you fret. You might one day reach this highest plateau, this exalted state of achievement, of honor. And on that day, you shall bask in the glory of greatness. When will that be? When will I become an uber poet, you ask?
You can
When
stop
you
there.
can look into, should I just go? Or
Oh, you can go ahead. Yeah, you can finish it up, actually. Yeah, I think,
okay.
yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
When you can look into the mirror and see a poem looking back at you, when you can hear music in the play of silence, when you can create a writing that leaves people stunned, when you can laugh and weep as you think and breathe and bleed and eat and sleep, when you can dream with the quill in your fingers, then perhaps you will be a poet, an uber poet. How long will that take, you ask? That's up to you, they say.
Awesome. Thanks, Neil. Appreciate that. Okay, great. Yeah. So how long would that take? You ask. That's up to you, they say. Okay, great. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed that poem. Who do you think created that for, like, again, my poets? Okay, so Nihil likes it. Do people do people people like, yeah, AI, AI. Okay, everybody thinks it's AI. Okay. Okay, does anybody want to tell me why they think it's AI? Because I don't think it's AI, and it's not AI actually. Um, why do you think it's AI? Let me ask Ivanka, what do you think it's AI? You can unmute yourself. Oh, because it's an AI. Okay, great. Okay, great answer. That's probably it. Okay, great. Okay, awesome. So, well, I was kind of actually lying about not being AI. But it was written by the great GPT-3. And I'll leave circa. I mean, I kind of like, there's a lot of other poems that I found online that I just kind of linked to them somewhere. But yeah, that's our poet. is poetry still the language of gods? I don't know. I mean, like that poem looks really interesting. I mean, I really loved it. I don't know if people know. I don't know if people know the like "If," the poem "If" by Rudyard Kipling. That sort of like remind like it just like the poem that was generated by GPT-3 reminded me much of that, and I think that's just nuts because I mean I love poetry and like looking at that and thinking was going to be possible in 10 years, or you know, like, given sort of the rate of improvement in these models. Okay, great. I don't know if you guys still believe in poetry. I don't know. For me, it's just really confusing, and that's why I'm giving these talks. It's kind of like one of those things I'm actually like thinking about right now in real time. So even if you guys are gonna see it from like my slides, they're not like super finished up. So it's actually not like a finished thing, but we kind of see that. Okay. Um, so now I'm actually going to introduce myself. I'm Yvon, I'm from Rwanda, and I'm a rising senior at Columbia. Actually, I was supposed to add like I'm studying computer science and kind of like a physics-ish. But that's going to be for the first story. So I actually have two stories for you guys. The first one, and then the story about the first one. It's kind of like, you know, self-reference. I thought that would be cool, but probably isn't. But okay, so first story then. First story is kind of like just about me stumbling into AI. So actually, like a better way to think about it is kind of like if you know AI was an island, and I was kind of just like sailing drunk, and then you know like, just by chance, by random chance, I ran into some island called AI. Okay, so this is sort of my first half of college. So freshman year, just kind of like a year of winging it, as I kind of just wrote there. So I actually had no idea what I was doing. I was doing a lot of like, economics. I studied economics for like a year, pretty much my first year, covered a lot of ground, and then became super boring my second year, so I dropped that. I took a bit of math. I thought I might major in math. I took like two courses and then kind of stopped that as well. Um, and then I tried something called financial engineering that we have at Columbia. Didn't like that as well. It's kind of like a combination of economics and finance and math and computer science. It wasn't working for me either. So just kind of like a lot of like experimenting and trying stuff out that mostly didn't work. That's kind of like the theme of my freshman year. Um, okay, so what else did I try? I think I tried like a bunch. I was changed, but like, some of my friends kind of were joking that I was changing like my major every week, which was obviously kind of nuts. But yeah, that was like a fun year. I tried a startup. So actually, this is like a weird thing that happened because I wasn't like into AI. I wasn't even into like computer science at the time. But we tried to like build something in college counseling. So in my high school back in Kigali, I had like a great college counselor that she was amazing. She was like, super, super amazing. And then we thought, let's try to build that into some app so that a lot of other kids across like the entire like you know continent Africa that don't have access to great counselors can kind of use it. So you can kind of see a lot of like natural language processing, like writing essays and all that kind of thing, and building that agent. And obviously that didn't work out. So because I was my freshman year, didn't know anything about computers, we tried to like see like if we could do it. We tried it for like maybe like a semester. Some friends of mine and I, and then we kind of stopped because we just realized we couldn't do it, couldn't build it. But we got like some $400 from like someone who was like, yeah, maybe I can invest in this idea, but it never worked. It never really took shape. Okay, so that's the first year. Then there's my sophomore year, when I sort of first tried to program. This is the time I'm taking some computer science courses. So now my life is starting to take shape. That's kind of a lie. It hasn't even taken shape even at this point. But yeah, anyway, but that's kind of like what's happening academically. And I find this language called Lisp. Does anybody know Lisp? If you know Lisp, just kind of like highlight on that word Lisp. Use your highlighter to just highlight on Lisp if you know Lisp. Or like you don't have to like know the program in Lisp, just like you've heard of that. You can highlight on that my screen, or you can just print the chat, whatever works. Okay, let's see. Anybody? Okay, it doesn't look like you have a lot of people who know Lisp. You guys, yeah, guys in high school. It's kind of like a weird language from like long time ago. It's not as fun as Python. It's pretty also kind of old. So that's kind of like my first language, and then I started to like, get like super passionate about like, designing languages, designing programming languages. There's actually like a project that I did that I can sort of link to that as well if you guys want. That we're kind of designing another language using Lisp, and it does a lot of like interesting things. So I can link to that as well. We've been kind of working on it for like a long time actually. So yeah, that's kind of like that's what's happening in my academics. And then I get this book from a friend. It's called AI: A Guide for Thinking Humans. And this is like sort of when I started to be like, maybe I could. AI seems interesting. That's something maybe I might try to do. We don't have a lot of time, so I'm gonna just kind of run through it. Yeah, so this is the book I made. Great book. I recommend it super highly. It's kind of like a written. You can actually kind of understand what's going on with like a high school math. So it's kind of like a good book to get started on. And then that's when sort of AGI comes in. I started to think about what's sort of intelligence, and that AGI stands for artificial general intelligence. So let's see, Jace, how much time do I have left?
Technically, I started kind of late, and also, intros take some time, so probably like maybe 10 minutes at most.
Okay. Oh, great. Okay, that's good. That should be enough. Okay, let's now see what AGI is, and then I'll come back to that. Hopefully, you guys can. My internet has not been great lately, so let's see if it actually plays. Hopefully.
Artificial general intelligence is often called strong AI. But hold on a minute. We aren't talking about swole robot bros.
Oh, yeah.
Strong AI isn't about physical prowess, but rather the ability to adapt, plan, and learn, the potential to perform any intellectual task at or above the human ability level. We already encounter plenty of examples of artificial intelligence in day-to-day life. Whether it's a search engine, a spoken language recognition program, the virtual bad guy you do battle with on your computer or video game system, or the GPS program that dynamically finds your path home, our lives are filled with AI that do dynamic tasks and do them well, but they are limited. Some of today's common AI can learn to some extent, but the AI playing chess with you on your computer is only going to be concerned with making winning chess moves. It will never have an existential crisis or develop a sudden dedication to the art of growing bonsai trees. Some of today's AI tries to do an impersonation of how a general AI might behave, but their shortcomings are often immediately obvious.
Bro, you need to work harder.
As a result, today's AI is often labeled weak AI. Behind the scenes, large sums of money and resources are being devoted to artificial general intelligence research. The most well-known example is Alphabet's DeepMind, which Elon Musk famously claimed to have invested in out of fear that AI will exterminate humanity. The existence of a true artificial general intelligence would raise a number of questions almost too large to compile. Beyond the big philosophical questions of consciousness, there are enormous practical concerns. It is one thing to be toting around a half-witted assistant in your pocket, but it becomes another thing entirely when one's virtual assistant often seems more clever than its owner. Would you want to interact with an artificial general intelligence? Would you trust it? What would you ask it?
What would you ask it? What would you think if you actually created something that was as smart as you, maybe smarter than you? What would you trust that? Would you use that? I'm kind of curious actually. I didn't intend to ask that question, but now that I watched the video, I'm like, maybe I should. Is that something that you guys kind of like, so that sounds cool, like, that sounds scary. What do you feel about that? About an AGI? You can put something in the chat if it's like super scary or is it super exciting. Okay, join them. Okay, great answer. just in case. Yeah, be nice, just in case. Yeah, that's my biggest strategy. You would use it, Nadia. Okay. It looks like the. Oh, Dave has said that he's. Oh, so Lisp. I didn't actually see that, but yeah, Lisp is fun. Let me know if you want to talk about that. But okay, what sounds okay? Scary, dangerous. Okay, look. Okay, awesome. So we have like different sort of outlook on this, and it's kind of like it's. So I said like before this, I said I don't know now. Now I can't go. Okay, looks like I can't. Okay. I said that this is the most exciting idea that I've ever come across, and I think the reason why, and this is kind of a tangent, so it's actually not part of what I have in the lecture, because again, like I'm thinking about this in real time. You can kind of think about it, like the human history sort of, we've got to the point where we are now, and we have a lot of like problems at the time, right, at this moment in time. But like, one of the, I think, some of the like most really interesting tools that we've created, right? Stuff like computers or like stuff like I don't know, like what tools people use, like different tools that people use in the next Stone Age or something. That's kind of like got us started on the path towards creating now sort of computers and then creating artificial general intelligence. And it's kind of like, for me, it seems really nuts that because like creating tools is kind of like one of the defining characteristics of Homo sapiens. I think that's why we've kind of like, grown to basically just take over the entire planet and kind of just, we messed it up, of course. We use that power in different ways, but I think creating tools is one of the really, really important things that we do that make us who we are. And sort of creating general intelligence is taking the tools creation to another level, and the implications of that are actually kind of mind-boggling. But yeah, we kind of, I think I might have like a slide on that as well. But that was kind of just what I'm thinking about. Like, you don't actually know how to feel about this because it's kind of beyond like everything that we've kind of interacted with at this point, like, as humans. I think it's probably like the question if we can actually create intelligence in machines is sort of like the probably the most interesting question, the most interesting open question in computer science, I think, or even entire science in general, because I think that sort of lays the foundation for even like a lot more big ideas that, a lot of like, imagine like having, more like brains to something, it's always like that's how you solve problems, like use intelligence, and now compounding that and creating intelligence that can improve itself rapidly, and like, that's just the implications are mind-boggling. That's why, I kind of feel you guys that just we don't know how to feel about this. Okay, so we covered that. So you can, simplified version of like what the video was talking about. It's kind of like, AI, and then subdivided into software. Not software, but soft AI. I don't speak English as my first language. It was second, so I should be excused for messing up the English language. But okay, so we have soft AI and hard or strong AI. In soft AI, that's kind of like a lot of stuff that you guys have been doing, a lot of like machine learning and creating models that sort of like specialize in different things. So like a CNN that specializes in sort of computer vision, or some for my group, for example, like a BERT, for example, some model called BERT that does a lot of like natural language processing, all that kind of thing. So those are like a bunch of examples of soft AI. Narrow AI. Oh yeah, definitely. Narrow AI, definitely. Yeah, Maria, you're right. Yeah, yeah, a bunch of names for that. Okay. So that's kind of like the motivation. Oh, I actually have a slide in that. That's kind of like the motivation for the creating general intelligence. That the human brain hasn't really changed much in like that many years, right? And it's not likely to change anytime soon. And I think one of the, because as you can sort of like make, if you think about it, if you have like the same architecture and that kind of thing, talking about the brain, there's a lot of like progress that you can make, and a lot of it has been great actually over the past especially over the past 100, maybe 500 years if you talk about science. But like to sort of like actually like take that progress to like a much higher level. Like there's a lot of stuff that I'm really, really interested in, and I'd passionate about, like space travel, like interstellar travel, that kind of thing. And I think having a lot of more intelligence to try to do these problems, try to work on these problems is really good. Because I'm not too happy that we can't really travel outside of the solar system for the next 1,000 years. Like, given the current progress of our space travel technology, like if you're excited about something else, or like reversing aging or that kind of thing, you shouldn't be too excited about. I mean, I don't know. At least for me, like I'm not too excited about these problems taking way too long to be solved. And so, like adding more intelligence, I think, is one way to try to speed up that process of really creating an exciting future. Okay. So this is sort of the $1 million question: how do you actually build an AGI? Well, I don't know. No one really knows. And I think that's one of the things that's also like really exciting about AI, that we don't have like a general relativity kind of theory where something that, like a general relativity, if you guys kind of have, Einstein, that guy, he's not super famous. So I'm not sure. Yeah, I don't think most of you know him, but he's like a guy from like a 1920s, that kind of thing. He has like a great theory of the theory of general relativity that kind of like describes how the universe works. I mean, not like to the quantum scale, it kind of doesn't hold up, but so far I think it works on a lot of cases. Like it's been proven to be correct in a lot of instances. But in kind of like intelligence, we actually don't have a theory like that. We don't have anything we don't really have like a good understanding of how the brain works or how sort of intelligence is generated in nature. But I guess, I mean, since like the laws of physics kind of allow for the existence of intelligence, at least like the human intelligence, then it's kind of fair to assume that there's nothing in the universe that prohibits us from actually getting that. But there's a lot of like knowledge gap in terms of like what we know now. So there's that's why I think it's really exciting too. Like just joining the field that doesn't have any answers. It's not like math where you have some like really interesting things that just proven to be true. In intelligence, not so much. And it kind of becomes even nuts. Like, what do you mean like when you say intelligence? What do you mean when you say learning? Like, it's super complicated. Okay. So how many neurons do you think the brain has? Give me a number. Put something in the chat. I'm almost finishing up. Yeah, I had like a few more slides, but yeah, it looks like okay, 100 million, limitless. Okay, it looks like we have like 100 billion, Maria, limitless possibly. Okay, a few million, 8 billion. Not bad. Great guesses. So some of the ideas that people proposed, actually that's correct. Wait, is that? I don't know if that's the correct number of zeros, but it should be 100 billion, approximately. 100 billion neurons simulating that, and so like you can kind of imagine that every neuron is kind of connected to like you guys like saw the like neural networks, right? Every neuron is kind of like connected to something like 10,000 neurons, right? So you can imagine that. I mean, that just becomes nuts. Like it's a huge thing to try to simulate. So. Some of the second sort of proposals kind of build like small components, like we saw like something that generates language, for example, something like GPT-3 that's kind of like tries to understand language, obviously using like vectors, thou shall speak vectors. Like you guys have seen like NLP, like creating those models that understand language in some kind of way. It's not perfect. They don't really get like, for example, you can kind of see this training of like trying to understand like language. You can kind of see that the model actually determined that you can see the distances. If you guys remember like space, like that kind of like space geometry of like a lot of dimensions across like space, not space like literal space, but sort of a lot of dimensions and creating like distances between words that are kind of similar. So you kind of see it kind of created like we didn't actually fit it. Like they were not, the network was not fed like countries, like it doesn't really understand anything about countries or states or capital cities, but it kind of like generated a same sort of like distance between every country and its capital. So that's kind of like, it's kind of like mind-boggling that having computers that don't understand anything about language, do not understand anything, even in the poetry, right? In the poetry that we saw, it doesn't know about soul. It doesn't know about, it was talking about like being great. Like greatness doesn't know anything about greatness, but you can kind of see still that it could create a lot of interesting things, even though it doesn't know anything about the real world. But AGI supposedly should probably know about the real world. I don't know, but those are a lot of questions that we actually don't have answers for. And so anyway, I'm kind of done. I should just kind of end here, but yeah, the idea is kind of like, for me at least, is my senior year I'm going to take a lot of neuroscience courses. There's a lot of also interesting neuroscience courses online that you can kind of get into, and to keep try to understand what intelligence is, because again, if you come to the conclusion that intelligence can be created, then that's the sort of the most important thing that anybody can do, creating intelligence that helps sort of us create a better, really more exciting future. All right, I'm gonna just end here. But if you wanna talk about this a bit more, I'm happy to. And there's a great quote from Richard Hamming, for those of you who know him, great dude. So yeah, that's it. I'll stop here.